Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and a radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the program? A little Gator Recoil. 3 games in, take some stock. Where does this team sit as SEC play begins? And the answer is right about where we thought they would or were going to be if you're realistic. There is a gigantic pendulum game against Tennessee. We're going to explain that coming up. Also, Brady and the Bucs, baby. Brady's heyday? Why, Tom Brady looks like the quarterback he is at 45 today, like he did when he was 25. Yes, what is old is new again. Tom Brady and this Bucs team looks like his Patriots teams from the early 2000s, especially that one against the Panthers. That's what this team looks like. So we're going to look at that. And also the NBA talking about lowering their age requirement from 19 to 18. Everybody hates one and dones. Oh, one and done's terrible. I hate the one and done rule. That's gone, which means I wrote down 7 names. Without the one and done, you never would have seen him in a college uniform. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. At Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram. Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Also, Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel, Harp on Sports, the Facebook page, and of course, harponsports.com. The Gators are 2-1 and lucky to beat South Florida. Lucky. And let's face it. I mean, Anthony Richardson can't throw the ball down the field. He can't. And, you know, when teams are scheming and only rushing 3 and saying, good luck, throw it, and you can't do it, not much you can do. Not much you can do. Can use the run to set up the pass, and then I hear, well, he's got to be able to move with his feet. Once he can move with his feet, he can throw. He can't move with his feet because he's injured. What good quarterback has mobility at all times? If you took Patrick Mahomes' scrambling ability away, he still can throw the football. Not as effectively, but at least he can complete some passes. The Florida Gators just don't have a deep vertical squad. They don't. You can blame it on receivers. You can blame it on scheme. Quarterback's still going to deliver the ball. That's why I thought it was laughable. And again, I used to get upset. Used to get worked up. I didn't say worked up. Upset's the wrong. Frustrated when fans were booger eating homers and they just adored their team no matter what. Now I look at it, the more unrealistic you are, the smarter I look. Go ahead. Anthony Richardson, Heisman candidate, top 3 pick in the draft. Florida's one of only 3 programs in all of college football don't have a touchdown pass. South Florida, the team they played against, another one in Hawaii. There you go. What's that tell you? What's that tell you? It tells you can't throw the football. And can you think of one team that Florida's played this year that they've had less talent than? Even Kentucky, with what Mark Stoops has built there, Florida still has more talent than they do. At least enough talent at the wide receiver position should be able to score some touchdowns. I don't care how bare it is. And look, I don't buy this either because of the way the transfer portal is set up. You can find guys. Just can't throw the ball. Florida cannot throw the ball effectively. And in this day and age, yeah, Army and Navy can get cutesy with it and run the ball down your throat in certain games. But if you want to compete in the Southeastern Conference, you have to throw the football. You just have to. So I look at this Florida squad, and what do I say? I say the Tennessee game's a swing game, a monstrous swing game. If Florida beats Tennessee, they'll be 3-1, and Florida's probably going to finish here 8-4. 9-3. They're not going to get to 9-3. But if Florida beats Tennessee, they're probably looking at an 8-4 season. If they lose to Tennessee, they'll be lucky to go 7-5. Not beating Georgia. I don't know this fantasy land that all of a sudden going to win at A&M because A&M lost to App State at home. And we're going to beat them. You struggle to beat South Florida. You have to ask yourself through 3 games, which one's more realistic, the Utah win or the other 2? The Kentucky loss and the UCF or USF win. Let's face it, Florida, with the exception of the turnover on the opening drive, played a pretty near perfect game personnel-wise against Utah. Utah turned the ball over a bunch. Florida was able to disguise things. And I try to tell this to people. You basically can only look at film that you saw last season and try to guess maybe during the spring game of what you see and put that into play. After a game, I got film on you. I know exactly what you do, and I take it away. And then it's your ability to adjust to that. That's where the goods become greats. What happens when I take away your strength? What do? The greats find a way. They do. Bryce Young, Texas. Find a way. Find a way. What he did a couple weeks ago with Alabama. So that separates good from great and teams that win national championships. Look at Stetson Bennett. Everybody ripping on Stetson Bennett last year. Stetson Bennett right now, I mean, is he the best quarterback in the country? Skill, talent-wise, no. He's the most efficient right now. Helps when you have that powerhouse backfield, offensive line, and receiving core, but they're loaded. Oh, my God, are they loaded. So, look, Anthony Richardson right now is just not a good throwing quarterback. He's not. Well, he's hurt. Okay. Tom Brady hadn't been able to run a 40 under 6 seconds in 10 years. He still throws the ball. When you're comparing him to Tom Brady, yeah, you're right. Anthony Richardson should be, I won't say more accurate, but don't we think Anthony Richardson should have some of the skill set, at least maybe it'll be a little bit better skill set wise than a 45-year-old? Not an ageist by any means. I'm in my 40s, but look, I'll believe it when I see it. Oh, he's going to get back on track. Oh, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. I've not seen it yet. The 3 games, I've not seen anything. And Gator fans, I'll make a bet with you. The rest of the year, with maybe the exception of Eastern Washington and Vanderbilt, every game that Anthony Richardson doesn't throw a touchdown in, Florida's losing. Florida can beat Vanderbilt and they can beat Eastern Washington without Anthony Richardson throwing touchdown passes. You think you're going to beat Tennessee without him throwing a touchdown pass, you're crazy. You can book that down right now. You're going to have to start throwing touchdown passes. This pipe dream about being an NFL quarterback, the NFL tends to like guys that throw touchdown passes. Now, you can sit there and say, oh, they're basing it on potential. Yeah, they may be basing it on potential, but Malik Willis could throw touchdown passes in college. Trey Lance threw touchdown passes in college. Josh Allen threw touchdown passes in college. I'm giving you all mobile, middle-of-the-road quarterbacks. They throw touchdown passes. He can't. So, what's Florida? 16-1 their last 17 games with Tennessee. And conversely, Josh Heupel, you're in year 3 there now? Is it year 3? Look, gang. This is the truth. Here comes the truth bomb. Tennessee, if you don't dump Florida at home this year, you think you're going to come here and beat them next year in Gainesville? And then if Tennessee, what did I see? Tennessee it's ridiculous. What is it? Is Tennessee like 1-32 their last 33 or 1-33 their last 34 games? Is that what it is now? 1-31, 1-31 their last 32 games against Alabama and Florida. Tennessee 1-31 their last 32 games against Alabama and Florida. That's Tennessee football. 15 years ago, upper echelon of the SEC. 16 years ago, upper echelon of the SEC. They're in the SEC championship game 15 years ago, Tennessee was. 15 years ago, Tennessee was in the SEC championship game. Since and including that season, 1-31 against Florida and Bama. So that's your measuring stick. Skull dragging Vandy in Kentucky. No, you got to beat those teams. Florida, Bama. And Josh Heupel, you don't beat Florida this year? This is the year you should beat them. This year you should beat them by double digits. I'm just glad Florida and Tennessee feels like something, and feels like something in the inverse where Tennessee is the one you're reaching for. But But to me, this Florida team, I mean, they play like they did against Central Florida. There's 2 wins on that schedule. Eastern Washington, Vandy. Vandy's here. No, Vandy's there, isn't it? Maybe I shouldn't be so loosey-goosey. But just, I don't care how athletic you are. You can't throw the football in the conference. You're not going to win. Not going to win. All right. Switching gears. Tom Brady and the Bucs. Once you look at things and you compartmentalize it, and I hate the phrase break it down, but when you subset what the Bucs have done, 2-0. 2-0, yeah. 2-0 stretch. They also have games coming up with the Packers, right, and the Chiefs. So the first 4 games for the Bucs were road games at Dallas. Yeah, Dak got hurt, but still, it's a road game against Dallas to start the year. Road game against New Orleans, who owns the Bucs. Packers and Chiefs. So Brady's first 4 games are Dallas on the road with Dak, a place that you never win. Home to still one of the best 3-4 quarterbacks in the NFL, back-to-back MVP, and Patrick Mahomes, who seems to have figured it out. That's a pretty tough way to start, right? So the Bucs are 2-0, both wins on the road. If I'm not mistaken, they're the only 2-0 team that won both games on the road by double digits. The Bucs just won 2 road games by double digits. Oh, they allowed 13 points. Oh, I forgot to tell you, their second biggest threat on offense missed the last game, and their biggest threat on offense got kicked out before the 4th quarter even started, and they still won. Now, this team defensively looks great. Offensively, still figuring some things out. Offense will come. I'm not worried about Tom Brady and the Bucs offense. I'm not. That'll come. But the fact that the defense went in and did what they did on the road back-to-back weeks, now they get to come home against the Packers, who kind of figured it out against the Bears. But look, if the Bucs defense plays like they did against the Packers, or plays like they did against the Saints against the Packers, they'll beat the Packers at home. They will. Tom Brady at 45 looks like Tom Brady at 25. This team looks a lot like that Patriots team when Tom Brady won his 2nd Super Bowl. The defense is loaded. Think about that. They had, I think Ty Law, Teddy Bruschi, Richard Seymour. They were loaded. Vrabel was in there in that little trinity as well. Think about that team. Law, Vrabel. More, maybe not so much Vrabel, but Law, Bruschi, Seymour. They were loaded. Loaded. Defensively, they were studs. And Tom Brady in the offense, the Corey Dillon, did just enough to win. Now, Brady put the team on his shoulders and won a Super Bowl. But that team, those early Patriots team were built, especially the one against the Rams, that team was built just such a strong defensive structure, and Tom Brady did just enough. What Tom Brady have in his first Super Bowl? Like 180 yards passing? Tom Brady at 45. This Bucs team's built a lot like those Patriots teams. A lot like those Patriots teams. Remember those Patriots teams were taking wide receivers, putting them in the secondary? They were doing all sorts of crazy things Belichick was. Is that Rodney Harrison too? Just defensively, they were loaded. Now, are the Bucs, is this Bucs team that good? No, but when you go on the road in the NFL and you allow 13 points or whatever it is over the first 2 weeks, when you go on the road in the NFL and your opponents are scoring less than 10 points a game. Now, Packers are going to score 10 points or more. They are. But I wrote a bunch of stuff down here. You've got Fournette, Evans, and Julio Jones. And Leonard Fournette's healthy. He always misses time. So, Leonard Fournette, 17 games. I think if you can get 14 games out of Leonard Fournette, you're really, really lucky. He's been a workhorse. He's a work back. He can't do this. He can't do 25, 30 a night. They're going to have to figure out something else to do with him. Because right now they lose him, they'd be in a little trouble. They would be. Ready for this? Who'd have thought you'd say this? Remember how Leonard Fournette's fat, he's overweight. Leonard Fournette is the most valuable offensive piece to Tom Brady right now. Oh, Seth, Mike Evans. Yeah, Mike Evans is a stud, but the way this defense is playing, they don't have to score a lot of points. Leonard Fournette, run the ball, speed up the game. Now, is it sustainable over the course of 17 games? I don't know. I look at the rest of the NFC. I mean, who's the best team in the NFC? I mean, the Eagles and the Vikings, we thought they're up there. What the Eagles did to the Vikings. And the thing is, you look at the NFC compared to the AFC, you'd probably sit there and say the fourth or fifth best team in the AFC would be the best team in the NFC, right? Same thing with quarterbacks. Think about that. If you list the best teams in football right now, if you really did it, you'd have what? Bills at the top. You'd have the Chiefs right there. Then what would you have? I mean, look, the Chargers are loaded. Look what the Dolphins have done out of the gate. Then you get over the NFC, you look around and look, okay, the Rams got drilled by the Bills. Packers, okay, they beat the Bears, but boy, they struggle against Minnesota. The Eagles look good, but what's going to happen when Philly actually has to go somewhere? That division, now you look all of a sudden at that division and you're like, boy, Philly could run away with that thing. Dallas is it. The Giants, okay. Washington not buying it. Philly could end up going 12-5 in that division, walking away with it. Division has a chance. They have a chance to have a stranglehold on that thing by Thanksgiving. So the NFC and even you look at the NFC South, and this is the other thing about Brady. 6 games in the NFC South, right? The Bucs have 3 home games and 3 road games. 6 division games. Their toughest division game's over. If you had to rank the Bucs opponent, like what was going to be the biggest test, the easiest test from what you've seen is probably the Falcons at home, followed by the, good gracious, think about this. Falcons at home, followed by the Panthers at home, followed by the Saints at home, right? Those would be your 3 easiest. Then your 3 roughest on the road. I mean, Panthers on the road and Falcons on the road, maybe the Saints at home may be tougher than both of those opponents on the road. But without a doubt, the toughest game for the Bucs this year in that division was going to be what? It was going to be on the road against the Saints, and they won it. Fountain of Youth, Brady's heyday. At 45, this Buccaneers team through 2 weeks looks like those Patriots teams in the early 2000s. That's how they're built. Okay. When to wrap with this. The NBA looks like the draft eligibility age is going to go from 19 to 18. And, people like to complain about one and dones. I didn't. Now, from a financial impact, from a athlete to the NBA impact, I mean, yeah, did it suck having those guys only around for a year? Yeah, I guess it did. But it beats the alternative, doesn't it? Now, look. You hit on it right, it works. Kevin Garnett worked. Kobe Bryant worked. LeBron James worked. Right to the NBA. Those worked. Other ones, not so much, right? Not so much. Sebastian Telfair, Corleone Young. There's some that just didn't work. Was it Ronnie Fields? Some of them just didn't work. Some of them were like, oh, I forgot all about him. Yeah. But with the one and done, yeah, I wrote down, I came up with 7 names, 7 things you wouldn't have seen without the one and done. You wouldn't have seen Anthony Davis at Kentucky. You wouldn't have seen Zion at Duke. College basketball will be worse without the one and done. Everybody the one and done's terrible. You take it away at 18, you can go right to the NBA. You guys nobody's going to college. Nobody have equality. And then, people want to put sticklers on it, like you can't leave for the NBA until you're a junior. Well, then you're going to have people looking around going, it's worth the risk, even if I go in the second round to leave now, rather than to go get stuck in college for 3 years. And the NBA is kind of caught here, right? They're kind of caught. The NFL is the only one with the muscle to flex on this and say, nope. Why? Because the NBA opened the door when the Moses Malones and those guys of the world entered the NBA, and they were successful. Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, Greg Oden. You may sit there and say, well, Greg Oden didn't work out in the NBA. Yeah, but at least we got some glimpse of his greatness with college. Without a one and done, does Greg Oden even, but what does he end up being? I mean, think about that one. I forgot about Kwame Brown. There's another one, right? Although he was able to be serviceable in the NBA. Kevin Durant, one and done. No, one and done's 2005, by the way. Kevin Love, John Wall, Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Now, there were some guys that were one and dones before the rule went into effect. Was it Stephon Marbury? He had a good career. But one and dones? Carmelo Anthony was a one and done, but that was before the rule was in effect. These guys, I'm going to go to college, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't really need to go to college anymore. And you have to take a step back and be realistic, and one and dones was good for the game of college basketball. It created interest in Duke and created monster villains with R.J. Barrett and Zion that year. I mean, it was must-watch basketball. Kentucky, Michael Kidd Gilchrist, Anthony Davis, that was must-watch basketball. It's going to be gone now. So everybody ragging on and hating the one and dones. One and done made college basketball at least interesting. Now, what will change? Well, the sport will get older. Right, if you're going to college, nobody will be leaving after their sophomore. I mean, it'll get older. Will it get better? Ask yourself this. Would college basketball have been better off without Kevin Durant, Kevin Love, John Wall, Greg Oden, Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis? Would they have been better off without those guys? Would they have? Don't think so. Don't think so. So, I enjoyed the one and dones. Gave me a glimpse at some superstars and made think Kevin Love, UCLA went to the Final Four. At least it made it interesting. I don't know how depriving your sport, college basketball, of Hall of Famers makes it better. And the NBA, I get why the NBA is doing it. It'll be interesting to see what the compromise here about. Do you have to go to college for 2 years? Baseball, you got to go till you're a junior. Football, you got to go through your junior year. It'll be interesting to see what the NBA comes up with here. Harp on Sports, The Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. Remember, follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram. Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports, The Bar. Harp on Sports, the Facebook page, and of course, along with Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel, and harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.